Welcome to Cloudcast, where you get an inside look at St. Cloud, Florida's local government. Whether you live, work, or play here, we're bringing you the information you need to better understand your city. Cloudcast is hosted by our communications team, including Miriam Batchelder, Andrew Sullivan, Deborah Carson, and Jay B. Miller. Thanks for listening in to Cloudcast.
So welcome everybody to another edition of Cloudcast, the City of St. Cloud's official podcast. In the studio today, we have with us two chiefs with St. Cloud Fire Rescue Department. We have Michael Kapranica, our Deputy Chief of Professional Standards, and we have Alicia Schwan, our Assistant Chief of EMS. So welcome to the studio.
Glad to be here.
Hi there.
And this week, we're talking with you because we are celebrating EMS Week. Can you share a little bit about what that is?
EMS Week is a chance for us to honor our EMTs and paramedics. They go out each day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and respond to anything that our citizens need. They work tirelessly. They give their hearts and their time. They educate to get higher. They train to get better skills. And our citizens absolutely love our fire department, and they tell us, and we get compliments, and they do a great job, and it's our chance to honor them.
Everything she says is spot on with that. Probably one of the biggest things, I think it's the sacrifice too that we do. It's an emotionally taxing thing, but it's one of those rewarding things that you probably will never turn around and go, wish I never had done that. Right. But, it's for the person out there that's, giving of the community and of themselves, like it's our chance, really to kind of recognize them, because it's a very idea that most people do not get out there and go, hey, thank you for what you do.
Right.
We get that occasionally, but like this week we can highlight what they do out there and celebrate them and make sure they're recognized for it.
And when we talk about, our department and the EMTs and the paramedics, how many of our staff are we talking about? Because I think a lot of people are confused. We use different trucks to get to different kinds of calls.
We have over 90 EMTs and paramedics, and 65 of those are paramedics, and over 35 are EMTs. Out of our 30-some EMTs, we have over 12 in paramedic school right now, getting ready to be trained and then released by the medical directors to be paramedics.
When we are talking about those different levels of certification, can you talk to us a little bit about what's involved in achieving that?
Well, the EMT is the basic level, and that is, I think it's around 3 or 4 months now for schooling, and there's a few like Valencia, and there's a couple other smaller schools that they can go to get that, and it just is the basic stuff. It's just those entry level skills they need to learn, and so life-saving skills, obviously, and then they progress from there, and then they decide to go to paramedic, which is about a year of your life that you literally are in school doing ride time, you're in class, you're doing clinicals. When they sign up for that, we go, hey man, don't plan on doing anything else.
Right.
Because it's so intense, especially from going from EMT to paramedic. You're getting really deep dive into the medical side of it, anatomy and physiology, why things happen in the body, and how the medicine that we're giving affects all these things in these, the body and how it works, the cardiac issues, all those things that we kind of go through. It just really gets in deep detail on it, and so it's pretty intense schooling. And it's funny when you talk to them. I think when they're in the middle of it, they feel like they're like in a whirlwind, and they don't know what's up and down. And it's kind of neat towards the end, and I know Alicia sees them on the tail end of the class when they're coming through and testing out, that they start seeing that aha moment. And they kind of put it all together, but it's very, very intense.
Yeah, it's 300 hours for EMT and 1,000 hours plus for the paramedics.
Wow.
So it's a big difference.
And there's a lot of, there's a gamut of calls that we run every day. What sorts of calls do we respond to more frequently, would you say?
Medical, obviously, with our EMTs and our paramedics, over fire for the first category split. But then we have high amounts of cardiac calls, stroke calls, patients that are septic, or then you would go into injuries, and those would probably be some of our top categories.
Mm-hmm. How about drug overdoses? Where do those fit in?
And the medical,
right.
Definitely. They are a high percentage, and each year it seems like the percentages go up.
You hear about a lot about fentanyl.
A lot of fentanyl.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, the state came out a few years ago and did a huge grant. And basically it was like, okay, here's the Narcan to counter the fentanyl, those kind of narcotics out there. And so it was a big push from them to get the medicine for free for us to be able to dose out to the fields, because we were hitting so many of those overdose calls. It was crazy. I know my previous job with the county, it would be 2-3 times a day. They may be the same patients. Mm-hmm. So it was, it's just one of those things. It's hard to put your mind in the mindset of someone that's addicted to that like that. This is something literally that killed you. We brought you back, and you were going right back to it. But it's an epidemic. There's no doubt.
Chief Schwan, one of the topics that we were talking about before we got in this studio was sort of, we recognize that these folks are out here in the community and they're here to assist us. But we were also talking about some ways that we can help assist our EMT and our paramedics as they're arriving to help us. Can you talk about, some of the things that we discussed?
Sure. It's very helpful if you were to have your medical history, your allergies, your medications, and all your demographics written down. In these times of emergency, it's hard to get a lot of these details over to the paramedics, and they all make a difference. The hospitals have requirements for their report systems. We have requirements for our report systems, and a name, birthday, social, address, doctor's names, and then the surgeries that you've had and what medications you take, what you're allergic to, and what problems you have, what surgeries you've had, what hospitals you're treated at, can make a big difference in how we treat you, and we can narrow down maybe what's going on better because we have a better idea. Some of the doctor's offices will give you a form. Vial of Life is something that we've had and passed out in the past, and it can either be a tube that goes in your refrigerator or a magnet that goes on your refrigerator. It can be very helpful. And also, if there ever is a time where a patient has a DNR, that yellow form is very important. That color of that form is important, and having that ready to go before the paramedics get there, so that if the emotions are high, you can just hand over a piece of paper and all of that is taken care of, and that takes one step of the work out of it. And
I know the other topic that we were talking about, a few weeks ago we celebrated our telecommunicators to help manage the load and our call frequency. Can you offer our listeners some tips on the difference of when to call 911 versus when to go to maybe an urgent care or hospital? The biggest drive to call 911 would be an emergency that your doctor's office can't handle. If it's not a routine, needing a prescription, needing a checkup, then you're going to need emergency physician, possible surgery. You can't pinpoint your problem. 911 is definitely, the way to go. If it's something that you've already had an ongoing conversation with your doctor and it hasn't escalated beyond the normal conversations you've had, the normal treatments that you've had, then your doctor would be a good person to call. But if it falls out of that normal realm of what he's prescribed, what he's already been treating, what he's already been comfortable with, it would be a good chance to call 911.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to put your finger on that too, because what's an emergency for me is probably different from other people, right? So you got to put yourselves in their shoes, and not being medically trained onto that too. So obviously when they're very uncomfortable with what's going on, we don't want to ever just kind of go, that's not a real need to call 911. So it's probably better to be safe than sorry on a lot of that. But again, I think it's hard to say, is just apply common sense to some of that. But we don't want to ever deter, for the most part, people from calling 911. But when they do, it's we're there for them. It's something else I kind of want to tag along. Thought about it was Telecommunicators Week. One of the issues that we run into is when we get calls that go through dispatch and you call 911, is they're going to go through questions, right? They call it Pro QA. And so those questions lead us to kind of what type of emergency we're rolling into. So I think it's very important actually for everybody that calls 911 to actually listen to what the dispatcher is asking you, the questions they're asking, and try to answer them the best that they can. Additionally, there might be important instructions they give them too. If it's something that needs CPR, or if it's something that's controlling bleeding, or any of those things with those type patients or something other than that, there is directions that they do give them that is vital. Mm-hmm. And so it's important that when they get on the phone with 911, obviously where you're at and what's going on, but answering the questions appropriately and as best they can is helpful for us and getting the full picture while we're going into that emergency.
And the one other thing that I wanted to add is, of course, we appreciate our EMTs and our paramedics. They go into situations that they may have limited information on, and they help save the day when people are just having their worst time. So they're certainly appreciated. Is there a need for more EMTs and paramedics? And if somebody wanted to pursue that as a profession, what would you recommend to them?
I've never seen any more of a need than we're in the time we're in right now. So I've been doing this since 1995 when I was a senior in high school, right? And I have never seen fire rescue and emergency services have the need for more people out there, and the positions are there. I remember when I got into this, we had to test against, maybe a couple hundred people for position. And now, there's all kinds of departments in Central Florida that are going and taking people right off the street. You get through the application process and they're sending you to school, right? So there's that is one of those things. And I talk to people all the time. I'm in the gym. Heck, I was even in the drive-through one day, and someone made a comment, "Oh, fire guys, I like you guys." I'm like, "Hey, if you ever want to be one, now's the time." Yep. I'm recruiting Perfect. In the drive-through. It's kind of funny, but it's really that people have those kind of dreams and thoughts, but they never just think they can realize it and be that, right? And so now is a great time. Many of the community colleges around here that have the EMT programs, and there's some other specialty schools that teach it too, that you can get into. And I tell people too, even if you not sure, go to EMT. You're going to learn some life-saving skills. You're going to get exposed to it. Chances are when you get out there and you're on one of the rescues or ambulances in the community, run around with lights and sirens, you're going to think it's the coolest thing ever, right? You're going to get hooked, right? But even if you don't like it, at the end, you learn some life-saving skills. Yeah, and it's probably some of the best money you'll ever spend, right? And you'll learn something along the way, and who knows, you might be that one time that you're running down the road and you see an accident, and you might be the difference.
Definitely,
it's great. I always thought it was a great tip to give people too. It's some exciting adventures, something that even if they don't get into it, that they still get to experience it. So that's always, I think, good advice.
St. Cloud Fire Rescue also, along with other agencies, sometimes you can do a ride-along, an observer ride-along. And we have people knock on our door all the time, and I get emails and phone calls about doing a ride. There are some steps we have to take to protect the city. There are steps that we have to take to educate the riders on, what we need to do and what we don't. And that gives them the opportunity to see this before they get into it. Otherwise, we would hate to spend too much time or training and it not be what they want. But like Chief said, once you hear those sirens and you're in the back of that truck, you're hooked, and it's really fun. But that's another way to get your foot in the door, to get your name known and your face known, is to do a ride and be able to feel the life of that FD personnel for the day.
Is there going to be any public outreach during EMS week? Can the public come by and see stuff or anything?
We don't have public events set up. Usually we're still running calls. We're doing our normal daily duties. It does fall that we're doing some recertifications that week. It'll be pretty hectic for us.
Okay, right, sure, absolutely.
We have to do our every other year American Heart Association advanced life support training. The outside agencies, the hospitals, they bless us with gifts and food all week long.
Okay.
And St. Cloud Fire Rescue will be providing a meal and a gift for our members like we do every year.
Okay.
But the hospitals will give us
some snacks? Are you getting snacks?
No, they'll do a full-on
meals.
Oh, okay.
They will barbecue.
Because that's my concern is that you guys are out there getting snacks and food and stuff like that. And if you weren't, I was going to try to make a few calls here and there because you deserve it.
Oh, no, it's great. We appreciate it.
Funny, like
Awesome.
it'd be like a calendar for the week, and you
Yes.
go, okay, this hospital's got this day, hospital has this another day, and it's all just on, here
They
you go,
love
remember
it.
to show up.
And that's important for you guys because one thing I do know is that the fire service, because you guys work 24-hour shifts, you do travel on your stomach. And so all the places I've been, you've got like phenomenal kitchens, and I love the one at the main place that's got the emblem right in the big table. I mean, that's a work of art, and you
That's
guys
the
deserve it.
crew's doing that too.
Yeah.
That's the guys there that put those tables together. That's showing the pride and ownership there.
Their craftsmanship,
Yep.
they're amazing.
Yep.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, Chief Schwan and Chief Kapranica, for being on the show today. We do appreciate having you. And, of course, we're appreciative of our EMT and paramedic professionals that are
Definitely.
serving the residents of the city of St. Cloud. So thank you again for another episode of Cloudcast.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it for this edition of Cloudcast. Don't forget to like, follow, rate, and review, and we'll see you next time on Cloudcast.